The race to secure vaccines and therapeutics continues across the globe. And in light of this reality, addressing disruptions to the global supply chain has become a priority for nations, while ensuring global manufacturing capacity has become a necessity for biotech companies.
Actually, I think a couple of things happened. One is that we never used to have emergency use authorizations for any product. Usually, the bio industry had to go through a very long regulatory process. And because this was a worldwide emergency, I think one point of it is that you have large, huge manufacturing companies, and then you have smaller CDMOs, and they work together to essentially distribute products to fight together, basically, this pandemic.
The global biopharmaceutical market, including contract manufacturing, has ballooned in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic and is expected to grow beyond expectations in the years ahead.
I think that global companies are now also looking at smaller players of the industry, trying to outsource some of really important things that they need to smaller companies. I think that this interaction between large bioindustry players and small companies are very important, creating a kind of really cooperative environment in bioindustry.
Korea in particular has seen its presence in the European and US biopharmaceutical markets expand while serving as a key exporter of contract manufactured vaccines. COVID-19 presented a window of opportunity for Korea to stake its claim as a key hub of biopharmaceutical production and demonstrate its global competitiveness.
Korea's biotech industry at this moment is a combination of very early stage companies with very interesting science, that established companies that are more in the contract development and manufacturing area that work with companies here and in other parts of the world that are growing as well. We see that with Samsung Biologics.
The biggest business need for CDMOs is really to increase capacity without constraining innovation. So I think if anything, the Korean biotech industry is really facing a period of substantial growth and innovation.
K-Bio has served to prove that it possesses the innate ability and infrastructure to promptly manufacture quality drugs. Accordingly, much attention is now focused on Korea's biotech industry. This year's 29th Bio International Convention was held here in the city of San Diego in Southern California. It is the world's largest gathering of the biotech industry, held in major cities across the US that are home to major bioclusters. This year's event was held under the theme Limitless Together.
So this is an opportunity once a year to bring everyone together so that they can learn from each other, or we can talk about things. In 2019, the last time we were all together, there were sessions about a potential pandemic on the horizon. No one believed it, but we had panels talking about that, and our companies were sharing information. 7 months later, COVID. And our companies had already been working on these type of cures. And what it does is it brings together early stage and large companies who are working on cures, biopharmaceuticals, the cures of tomorrow.
It was the first in-person convention in 3 years, with over 1,000 firms representing some 60 countries taking part. Featuring the latest advances in biopharmaceuticals and beyond, the event brought together industry innovations under one roof. The convention also hosted a debate on mRNA technology, attended by the Executive Vice President of Samsung Biologics, who took the opportunity to share Samsung's strategy in the CDMO market and its competitive edge. CDMO has become the new buzzword in the biotech industry. CDO refers to contract development of a drug, while CMO refers to contract manufacturing. Together, CDMO includes a wide array of services ranging from drug analysis to drug development to drug production. Samsung Biologics is a rising CDMO, and the popularity of its booth at the convention served to justify this reality. Samsung Biologics has attended the Bio International Convention every year since the company's founding in 2011 and engaged in active business transactions at its large 1,500 square feet booth.
We tagged on to the Bio International's theme of limitless together, and we took the concept of infinite possibilities. And if you see the bridge behind us, that is the end-to-end. It really symbolizes the overall sustainability of our organization.
The walls of the booth offered visitors a visual display of the company's end-to-end services, from the development of drug compounds to mass production.
Well, I just passed by, and it all looked very, very interesting, and also they had such a fun way to integrate people passing by. You know that it's a very exciting future coming ahead for sure. Biotech is massive, and there's a lot of investment going into it.
I was surprised walking around San Diego. I arrived on Saturday, and I saw some advertisement outside on the streets, and I said, wow, Samsung Biologics. And I asked my colleague, interesting, I need to go there to start getting to know this. And then I'm really impressed of the kind of structure, the kind of services. There's really something new that I couldn't expect that Samsung was working with. I think it's the next stage of technology, isn't it?
One popular activity at the Samsung Biologics booth was the tour of its factory to virtual reality. Through a kiosk and a VR headset, visitors were given an immersive tour of Samsung Biologics' most recently constructed plant in Songdo.
You know, all we know about Samsung is just, electronics, and things like that. And then I had a very impressive experience. I virtually had a tour to your facilities, their state-of-art technologies. I saw Samsung Biologics, and it's very interesting. And it's first time to see how they are heavily investing and very active in this area.
In quite a few cases, such virtual experiences paved the path to tangible business partnerships. Accordingly, Samsung Biologics made preparations to effectively accommodate potential clients visiting its booth to discuss partnership deals.
It's very important because it's a post-pandemic. We're gathering as a face-to-face meeting for the first time in 3 years. It's very important for Samsung Biologics. Well, we'll anticipate about 3,000 potential customers coming by in the next 3 days. And from that, we will hope to achieve greater sales. However, we want to have new clients for our P4 operations.
Korea has been taking part in the Bio International Convention since the year 2000, and at this year's event, 900 Koreans were present, the most out of any country with the exception of the US. Samsung Biologics has been credited with opening the door to other Korean biotech firms by leveraging its global brand power and competitiveness.
What we are hearing, and we have a great interest in Korea, it is the largest international contingent. No other country brought that many people. No other country brought that many companies outside of the United States. We believe it's going to be a driver of future business, future economic development, future economic growth, and we look forward to working with Korea as they continue to grow it. Largest international contingent, first time ever for Korea.
A Korean booth set up jointly by KOTRA and the Korea Biotechnology Industry Organization also drew a high level of interest among international firms.
한국 기업들의 기술력이나 이런 거에 대해서 칭찬을 하고요. 저희가 앞으로도 더 많은 협력 기회가 있었으면 좋겠다고 얘기하고 있습니다.
A total of 16 Korean companies, including biotech startups, took part in the convention, showcasing their potential and differentiated technology offerings.
코로나를 겪으면서 한국의 브랜드가 되게 안전하게 잡아가는 것 같아요. 그러니까 이제 특히 뭐 CMO, CDMO사 같은 경우는 백신을 위탁 생산하면서 글로벌 파워랑 이야기하게 됐고, 또 하나는 글로벌 브랜드를 가진 대기업이 있다는 거. 그러니까 삼성 바이오로직스, 셀트리온, 뭐 이번에 롯데는 새로 들어오긴 했지만 그 국가 경쟁력을 갖는 큰 브랜드가 있다는 사실 자체가 되게 이 산업들을 확확 끌어가는데 되게 큰 도움이 되는 것 같습니다.
The OECD predicts that the world will transition to a bioeconomy by the year 2030. Biopharmaceuticals already account for 44% of all revenues from the world's top 100 pharmaceutical products as of the year 2020.
Based on basic science research, going from laboratories into clinical processes almost immediately. And so we're getting an increase in acceleration in the amount of novel products that are available to ultimately treat patients.
I actually think the COVID pandemic put the entire bio industry on alert that we need more tools, not just for infectious diseases, but for non-communicable diseases, they're called. And we realized how much more work we need to do with cancer drugs, specifically, with heart disease drugs and with diabetes drugs. And I think so many people are so much more tuned now to health that I think we're going to have greater investment and greater work out of bio industry. I see nothing but growth for the bio industry.
The biopharmaceutical market promises a sustained period of high revenues for early movers and also possesses a distinct advantage of easy and effective conversions with other industries. This is the reason behind the race among existing global pharmaceutical and biotech companies, including Korea's Samsung Biologics, to get a head start in the market. Samsung Biologics entered the biopharmaceutical market in 2011. The firm installed 130 banners on lampposts lining the main road between San Diego Airport and the venue of the Bio International Convention to further boost brand recognition at this year's event. A networking event was held on board the retired aircraft carrier and museum USS Midway. Here, more than 2,000 biotech company representatives gathered to discuss various business partnership opportunities. The event was sponsored by a number of big biotech companies, including Samsung Biologics and Genentech. It was also an opportunity for Samsung Biologics to rub shoulders and build rapport with its client firms by flying banners and playing a corporate promotional video.
A leader in the rare disease space. We tend to focus on them so that those patients actually do have treatments.
Not right now. But we have talked to Samsung about different things. We have a lot of biologics in our pipeline, so we're always looking for opportunities.
Samsung Biologics has been a major presence at many other biotech conventions around the world. It has become the poster child of the rising K-Bio phenomenon through its competitiveness in the CDMO market.
We've also been able to do
Samsung Biologics' core capability is really speed. We build facilities at 40% faster than any of our peers. I think some of that can be really thought about in terms of we produced COVID therapies for Eli Lilly, for GSK, for AZ in a record period of time in 3 to 4 months when globally there was a need to have COVID mAb therapies for patients in need.
Samsung Biologics boasts a one-stop end-to-end mRNA production process from mRNA drug substances to drug products, and has thus sealed several partnerships with both the US and European pharmaceutical giants.
We have a clientele of 73 CMOs. We have a clientele of CDO customers of 95. We have 146 regulatory approvals to date. which I think is phenomenal track record to have built in a very, very short period of time. We also had consecutive CMO leadership awards awarded to us for the last 9 years.
The CDMO market seeks to supplement the work of pharmaceutical firms that seek greater manufacturing capacity and expertise for commercial production. The global CDMO market is projected to grow 10.1% annually to reach $20.3 billion by the year 2026. In 2020, Samsung Biologics established its first overseas base in San Francisco to sharpen its competitive edge in the CDMO market.
샌프란시스코는 그 실리콘밸리 그리고 이제 바이오 클러스터가 밀집되어 있는 지역입니다. 그러다 보니까 CDO의 특성상 다양한 잠재 고객사하고의 미팅 그리고 이제 수주하는 데 좀 도움이 될 수 있는 부분이 있어서 이제 첫 번째 이유가 되겠고요. 두 번째는 저희 CDO 사업이 송도에 있다 보니까 아무래도 이제 외국 고객사들하고의 커뮤니케이션에는 시차 때문에 좀 어려운 면이 있습니다. 미국에다가 R&D 센터를 준공을 했을 때 상당한 그 이점이 있을 것이라고 예상을 하고 샌프란시스코에다 진출을 하게 되었습니다.
The US is home to some of the world's largest bioclusters, but the one in San Francisco deserves special attention for a number of reasons.
California became a major biotech center both in San Francisco and in San Diego because of very good early-stage biomedical research that some entrepreneurs developed into products many years ago. And those entrepreneurs who were successful treated that kind of success in terms of creating other companies.
The San Francisco biocluster is estimated to generate around $400 billion in economic activity each year. The remarkable success of Genentech has transformed the cluster into a global bioengineering hub that attracts $1.5 billion in new investments every year. The area is home to Stanford University and other top-tier academic institutions, in addition to the headquarters of some 250 global biotech companies. Together, they hold around 8,500 patents, the most among any biocluster in the world. So what makes San Francisco a top destination for global capital and unrivaled talent in the biotech sector?
Maybe another company that does the clinical trials. That a small company can succeed here because it doesn't have to do it all. Lab space is built the same way here, where you can get a small lab to start with, and then as you partner and grow, you can get it bigger. We take all of the hard stuff and get it done for them so that they can focus on that. And that is why we've become the largest.
Innovative ideas born in labs and research universities are tested out with the support of private firms and hospitals before being commercialized in a short period of time. This win-win strategy has pushed the San Francisco biocluster to lead the globe in this field.
You have small startup companies all the way up to the biggest enterprise companies out there with Amgen and Genentech and others. Startup companies have something to bring to the enterprise companies in terms of innovation. And then the innovative companies get to learn from the enterprise companies of how to do all of this, how to commercialize it. Because as much as we're competitors at times, we all have that same end goal, which is to make sure that patients are getting the therapies that they need.
Smart labs are created to incubate promising startups, and the city of South San Francisco has also invested more than $13 billion to diversify its biotech ecosystem, a move that has been welcomed by the private sector.
It's just nice to be in a cluster where there's like-minded people, where we've worked with some of those local incubators as well and helped fund some of those companies, and then some of them have actually been acquired by Amgen. So it's just really important to have an ecosystem.
Korea is also home to a number of bioclusters, but the one in Songdo is by far the most significant. Songdo is located near Incheon International Airport, offering it location-specific advantages. Accordingly, Korea's big three biotech firms are all set to have established their headquarters in Songdo by the year 2024. As of 2020, Songdo had a total biopharmaceutical manufacturing capacity of 560,000 litres, the highest among cities in the world, including San Francisco. Samsung Biologics alone accounts for 65% of Songdo's total production capacity, and the completion of its fourth manufacturing plant next year will raise its capacity to 620,000 litres, the highest among all global firms. These applaudable advances come amid bold and preemptive investments, as well as strategic speed in building plants.
Quality plays an important role in assuring compliance of the current good manufacturing practice and ensuring the consistency in quality and safety of the manufactured product. We have state-of-the-art equipment and facilities and continuously foster the professional engineers and scientists in the quality system.
Last year, the company's production facilities were visited by high-ranking government officials from the US and the UK, and this year by their counterparts from Germany. Pundits say this is proof of Korea's growing presence in the bio market.
You know, I think it's an invitation to bring Samsung Biologics to the US, to bring Samsung Biologics to England. Yeah, I mean, you would interpret it as positive, you know, as looking for opportunity to, I mean, Samsung is a global company, and wanting to understand how those businesses, that business can be more integrated into the global supply chain, but also into localization in country.
Samsung Biologics is now focusing on its mid to long-term growth strategy, laying the foundation for open innovation and novel drug development by acquiring Samsung Bioepis. Back in May, Samsung Group announced its plan to replicate its success with semiconductors in the biotech industry, just 3 days after US President Joe Biden's visit to Korea. And upon the completion of its fourth manufacturing plant next year, Samsung plans to create its second biocampus, a sprawling industrial complex that includes additional plants, R&D service facilities, and an open innovation center. Such efforts reflect Samsung Biologics' determination to solidify its status as the world's #1 CDMO company.
We're continuing to expand in terms of our portfolio across the whole gamut. We look at in terms of capacity expansion, which is one dimension, which is continue to expand by either building facilities or purchasing facilities. We also looked at geographical expansions. We continue to expand into the United States. We'll look to expand into Europe and eventually the rest of the world. The other dimension that we're looking at is portfolio diversity. So we've started out in mAbs. We've expanded into mRNA and cell gene therapy. We're continuing to look at opportunities for growth beyond that. What we would like to do is leverage those core capabilities for Samsung to create a novel drug business over time. So we're looking at it from a three-dimensional expansion opportunity to really create a top-tier biopharma company by 2030, and ultimately a novel drug business as well.
As Korea's leading biotech company, Samsung Biologics is also strengthening ESG management by expanding efforts to combat climate change.
Well, the impact that the climate change crisis has on the environment and the public health is quite significant. And Samsung Biologics is committed to accelerating the net zero delivery across all of our business operations. The goal is to limit temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. and taken the actions from the Carbon Disclosure Project and the guidance from the Task Force on the Climate-Related Financial Disclosures, we'll continuously look at risks and opportunities related to climate change and assess the financial impact to establish related response policies.
Samsung Biologics has obtained international certifications for the systematic adoption of these practices, earning praise from global evaluators in the process.
Well, you're seeing it change, and I've certainly seen it in the U.S. And it really affects every aspect of the industry because the clients, the innovation companies are asking for that change.
Earlier this year, the WHO designated Korea as a global biomanufacturing training hub, a recognition that the country earned through its successes in biopharmaceutical production and training.
정부는 바이오 헬스 산업을 국가 핵심 전략 산업으로 육성할 계획을 가지고 있습니다.
The Korean government has also stepped in to attract more private investments by easing related red tape. Korea's biotech industry may have grown in leaps and bounds, but there are still a number of tasks that need to be tackled.
These things are hard to do. And so having that talent, having the universities there that can fill the spaces that become available is really, really important. The second thing is, in my mind, it's always an eye towards commercialization. And so the fact that Samsung is there in that cluster is going to be hugely successful to that pathway of commercial, which we talked about earlier.
To develop the talent very, very early and also develop the funding, the capital that's needed to be able to fuel the growth of companies. And it's also important to have very strong government support for the economy, the bioeconomy as well.
An unprecedented global pandemic has further highlighted the importance of the biotech sector. Korea's biotech firms and their unrivaled technology have captured the attention of global talents in the field at this very important juncture. Now is the start of K-Bio's golden time. And its steady rise to the top of the global biotech industry is indeed a feasible feat to be followed.